Hello there, Ray here, and there's a new 1.13.1 snapshot, and this is 18W32A. This snapshot comes with some new features as well as bug fixes and other changes. They added in some new blocks into the game, and that is the dead variation of the coral flora. We have the horn coral, fire coral, bubble coral, rain coral, as well as the tube coral, all in the dead variations. They look very similar to that of the fan coral, as they are all dried up and grayish, as well as the dead coral blocks. So you can see now we have all the different variations of dead as well as live variations of the coral, so the blocks, the fans, as well as the coral. I'm really glad they added this in to make it kind of consistent throughout the different variations. I know a lot of you guys were also wanting this to be in the game. They fixed a bug that was pretty prominent since the beginning of the snapshots, and that is when the floor would shift, some blocks that were on top of it that would normally break off when the floor is shifting would not. And this would break such things as like a grass farm, where you bone mill a block and then it produces grass on top of it. And here you can see that if we start up the farm, it will break it off, and you can even like hold bone meal up against this. So there you see I'm just holding down my right click and I'm able to bone meal against the grass block, and it's able to put grass on top of it and it can break off, producing flowers as well as grass seeds. You also notice that sometimes when you bone meal the ground, you can produce some tall grass there, which is pretty cool. And they also change it so that when you do break tall grass, it will produce 2 sounds of breaking instead of 1. And you can find this behavior in other parts of 1.13. So like a piston that has 2 blocks, you break this part, you hear it makes 2 breaking noises. It was probably for the best that they fixed this bug, although there was some pretty crazy things that you could do with this, as we found out during our streams. Like you can make budded redstone torches that were on, although they're supposed to be off, and other crazy stuff like that, which I'll talk about probably in a future video. They fixed that really bad bug, which I discovered, where if you would collide the player or any entity with a full cube block, they would clip entirely through the world without colliding with any of the blocks below them. You could even end up in the void. So you can see this has now been fixed. They were probably just doing some changes to do with blocks being able to push entities out of blocks. They fixed another bug to do with inconsistency with the conduit. Now, before it was only possible to place conduit inside of water, but now you can also place it onto dry land, and then you can waterlog it. This now makes it possible for you to actually put conduit in the nether dimension. Before you couldn't because you couldn't get the water there. I discovered a really cool mechanic, and I made a video about it, where you can be able to put shields inside of a dispenser, and then you can dispense them onto an armor stand, but they have changed this now, so it's no longer possible to do that in survival. You can still use commands. So now this is a type of discontinued entity in the game, so I would highly recommend you collect some of these in your survival world before upgrading to this version, because this has now been fixed. The main reason because they said to fix this is because they don't think the armor stand has an arm here, and therefore they don't think he should hold the shield. Also, you're not able to right click the armor that is on them, such as the shields, off of the armor stand once they're on there, so you'd have to break the entire armor stand to get the shield back. They fixed a bug where going inside of a minecart and then leaving the minecart will allow you to go through the world border. Bone milling grass blocks underneath of water would not produce seagrass, and this has been fixed. They fixed it now so you can craft purple stairs using the purple pillars, and this is similar to like using the pillars from quartz to make quartz stairs. They fixed the shulker's collision box being pretty glitchy in the last couple snapshots. The statistic for cleaning shulker box was missing, so if you right click a shulker box that has some color on in a cauldron that has some water, you can remove the coloring on it. And then let's go into our statistics and look at it. Here it says shulker box cleaned, 1. Spawners that were made into dolphin spawners were accidentally allowing the dolphins to spawn directly inside of blocks. Waterlogged blocks that were underneath of water were still producing little driplets, acting like this block below it was having air in it. It was a pretty strange bug that I showed in one of my early episodes, where if you would right click on a horse with some feed, it would move your cursor, and it had to do a lot with, we noticed it quite a bit with baby horses. When you try to feed them up, every time you click on them, they would show up as being an adult horse, even though they weren't really were, and then they also rotate your character every single time too, which is pretty strange. Now this bug has been fixed. It changed some stuff with dismounting horses, so that when you dismount, you wouldn't end up on the wrong side of a fence. That's a pretty old bug that if you would constantly right-click a llama and try to get into love mode, it would keep eating up all your bales of hay. And this has been fixed, so now if you would right-click it the first time, it will go into love mode. If you click it again, then you just end up on top of it. They fixed a really old bug that if a mob was down to almost being dead, and then he took damage from fire, and he died from that, he would not be able to drop cooked meat. They fixed a bug to do with pistons, and this piston would drop its block in a situation like this. And what you expect is the power to go through here, and this would power this piston, it would lift up the block, and the power also goes down and ends up here at the same time. Then after 2 game ticks, it goes through here, and then it should keep this powered a little bit longer, being able for the piston to bring the block back down. So we'll go ahead and flick it. You can see it goes up, pulls it back down. If we would just have one of these, you see that it dropped the block. And that's why it's important to have a second one to come in and keep power to it so there's enough time to bring it back down. And you can see this is now working properly. They fixed a bug to do with the chunk command, and that's this here. This allows you to load chunks remotely without the player being there. So here it says chunk, and then this is what the dimensions in. It's in the overworld. And then here I'm just unforcing it, removing the force that was on here to load it. And these are the chunk coordinates. So if I switch this from unforced to force, you now force this chunk to be loaded. And there was a problem that this chunk would only be loaded when a player came by and loaded it. Now this has been fixed, so let's go ahead and turn on these commands, which say hi. This one says bye, and they're in two different chunks. This chunk here is being force loaded. That's one we are currently going to force load, and this one is not. So let's go ahead and leave and unload these chunks. And you can see now it just says hi, because that's the chunk that's being force loaded. Now let's go ahead and unforce it. Okay, so now autosave occurred and the chunk has unloaded. So it takes a while to unload. So let's go ahead and force the chunk again. And let's see what happens. So it immediately becomes loaded again. It doesn't have to wait at all. They said they fixed a bug where you would no longer glitch through when staying on top of the boats. The boats are one of those things that has been changed a lot throughout the versions of Minecraft. In some versions you could stay on top of them pretty easily, other ones you couldn't. This version is pretty difficult to stay on top of them. They try to slide from underneath you, but if you do stand in the center, it is possible to still glitch through the boat. You can also try to stand on top of it and it'll try to move away from you, but I was able to still clip into the boat. Let's see if I can figure out how to do it again. There you go. Kind of see I clip into the boat, kind of jitter a little bit, and then eventually the boat moves out of the way. So I guess it's not as bad as probably the bug report was talking. They're probably getting completely stuck inside of it, but there is still some wonkiness with boats. I'm going to do a little review about what tools work for which of the different types of blocks, because it's not consistent, and maybe this is a bug. So here we got some type of fans, and if we got a silk touch, see we're able to get the items off of them. But if we come in and we put on like a fortune pick, we're not able to get anything. And then let's go ahead and use a silk touch axe. And you can see we are able to get the items off of the live one. We're not able to get items off of the dead one with a silk touch axe. So that's some inconsistency there. Now let's head over to the corals. So here we got ourselves a silk touch pick. We're able to get both them with a silk touch pick. We come in and we do the same thing with a fortune pick. You can see we're not able to get anything there. And if we come in with an axe, you'll see we're not able to get the dead one, but we're able to get the live one. So that's a bit strange. And then you can see with the coral, if we come in like with the fortune pick, see it just gives us like a dead coral. And this one also will give us like a dead coral with a fortune pick. Now if we come in and we use our silk touch pick, you see that we still get a dead one from that one, but instead here we get a live one. And of course, using a access silk touch, just going to break the block without giving any items. They have also said that they have added in some more performance optimizations with this snapshot. Quite a few changes with this snapshot. So I'd like to thank you for watching, and if you found this interesting, show me a like and share this with others. If you'd like to see more stuff like this for 1.13 and beyond, be sure to subscribe and hit that bell button to get notifications, and tell me what you guys think about these changes down in the comments. Bye!